Hey guys, I hope you're having a good day right now because right now I'm really hot and sweaty and my ear is starting to swell up. So, I'm having a great time. uh, Once again, my friend Jeremy is going to come over soon in a few hours, so maybe I'll do something with him. I don't know. I don't have anything planned. I don't know. Anyway, welcome to the Ben 10 podcast, episode 6. Today, we are not going to talk about Ben 10. Uh, yeah, I know at the end of the previous Ben 10 podcast episode, I talked about doing, talking about Ben 10 Planet Shorts some more. I don't want to do that right now because I just rewatched The Secret Saturdays and instead of giving it its own podcast like I did for Gen Rhetorics, I'm just going to tell you my thoughts about the show right here on the Ben 10 podcast, and then halfway through I'll probably rewatch the episode where they crossed over with Ben 10 Omniverse to keep it Ben 10 related. Anyway, so yeah, The Secret Saturdays is the show that I just don't know if I can recommend to anybody, really. Like, season one just has so much bad in it, but then season two, the show does get good. And the first episode's also pretty good. Like, this episode gets. The first episode of the show does get you pumped to see what's going to happen and all that. And then the show just goes down the drain and then comes back up out of the drain for season two. So yeah, it's just ugh. Season two is also way shorter than the first season. I think like season one's a full 26 episode long season, and then season two is only 10 episodes long. So yeah, this show is definitely a good example of why most action cartoons work best whenever you keep the seasons short from 10 to 13 episodes. Like, that's really the perfect range that an action cartoon season should be. Like, Ben 10, for example, when they went from 13 episodes to 20 episodes with Alien Force Season 3, the quality of the show went down in general. And so it would Alien Force season 3 would probably be a way better season if it was only 13 episodes long instead of 20. And it's really the same thing for the Secret Saturdays. It's just like there really isn't a single episode of the show that you can skip, sadly, but there's so much filler within it. There's just like tiny nuggets of story progression in every episode, but most episodes do not progress the plot very much at all. Just kind of slightly progresses the characters and all that. There's very little. There, like this is a great show where you can just skip around the episode, skip scenes, and you won't miss anything. But you can't really skip a single episode, sadly. And I actually, like when I was watching the show, I was actually telling some people skip this episode because I thought it was 100% filler and an awful episode. And then it actually does sort of become important later on, but not really at the same time. Like, all the events that happen in the episode don't really matter except they met this one character who shows up later on, and we even see this annoying character on the final episode of the show. Anyways, I hadn't even explained what the show is about yet. um, so, The Secret Saturdays is a show about this group of scientists that call themselves secret scientists who just kind of explore the world and protecting people from animals that are unknown called cryptids. Which cryptids are a kind of real thing, but the cryptids in this show do not really connect with real life very much at all. Like, have you ever heard of Bigfoot? Bigfoot's a cryptid. Have you ever heard of Loch Ness the monster? That's a cryptid. We don't really see any of those in the show, though. We don't get all the cryptids in the show are just made up for this show and aren't actually real or anything. And I just got a Discord notification, so I'm going to reply to that now. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. It didn't really matter. It's just somebody was wanting to tell me something that they saw at school. Anyway. um. Ugh. Anyway, so let's talk about the main characters of the show. So the main character of the show is Zach Saturday. The show starts out and he's 11 years old, and the show ends and he's 13. And the show and like the ending of the show takes place 3 years before the Ben 10 Omniverse crossover. So that means that Zach and Ben are the same age. So if you're wondering how this connects with the Ben 10 timeline, you should be able to easily piece it together like that. Like, this show just mostly takes place in between the time gap of the original series and Ben 10 Alien Force. Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure you would be able to piece together with a lot of hard work timeline that connects this with the Omniverse flashbacks of 11-year-old Ben and which happens when and but it's a waste of time. The important thing is that this show just takes place in between the original Ben 10 and Ben 10 Alien Force. Anyway, so speaking about Ben 10, yeah. By the way, for the people that haven't seen the crossover episode with the Secret Saturdays and Ben 10 Omniverse, these shows take place in the same universe. Like, the entirety of the Secret Saturdays happened within the Ben 10 universe. It's not like the Generator X crossover, where it's separate universes that crossed over. Nope. Secret Saturdays and Ben 10 are in the same universe. So yeah, all the Saturdays could have helped taking out the hybrid and the incursions and all that, but instead they didn't because they have to be a secret for some reason. Anyway, yeah, before I started rewatching the show a few months ago in preparation for that, I actually did a whole bunch of, and by research, I did some research, but by research, I mean I just watched some YouTube videos about cryptids by Trey the Explainer. So yeah, Bigfoot and this Loch Ness Monster are all animals that are classified as cryptids because their existence has not been 100% proven yet. And yeah. So that's basically what cryptids are in real life, just animals that have not been proven to exist. Just folklore, legends. But of course in the Secret Saturdays, like all of them are just cartoon made up characters. There's no real folklore behind any of the cryptids in the show. It's just all original, unique to this show. They barely even use the word like cryptozoology in the show. Anyway, Zach Saturday, the main character of the show, he is kind of annoying at times, kind of cool sometimes, mostly kind of annoying sometimes, honestly. I don't know, he's not a great character. He's definitely not the best character in this show, which is unfortunate because he's the main character. It's unfortunate. And yeah. His dad though, Doc Saturday, I like him way more. He's probably my favorite character in the show. He's a scientist, but he's also a really cool fighter and all that. He's got a glove that allows him to punch things real hard. They never really explain how his glove works. One time he kind of shot lasers out of it, but that only happened once on the season 1 finale. Yeah, his weapon's kind of lame in comparison to some of the other weapons, but he's the best character in the show. I like him a lot. Yep. For me, at least, he's the best character. I can't really explain why right now, just because, again, I'm hot, sweaty, and my ear is swollen. So, yeah. uh, just don't feel very good right now, guys. Anyway, but I should have recorded this podcast earlier in the week, but for whatever reason, I decided I wanted to wait until the end of the week. I don't know why. I wanted to wait until the end of the week to record this when I could have recorded this like on Monday. I don't know. I don't know why I decided to wait so long to record this. Ah, I'm weird. Anyway, so Zach's mom drew Saturday. It's just a mom character. Not a whole lot special about her. Her sword is really cool. On one episode, Zach used her fire sword to shoot a guy through a wall. That was really cool. The best moment of that episode, probably. I don't know. Anyway, also in the fourth episode of the show, they established that they need sunlight to power the sword. But then after that, you can just after that episode, we just see it be used at night and all that, and it works perfectly fine without any light at all. That was just a rule that was established for one episode and then forgotten. Uh, this show. Ugh. Honestly, if you are a hardcore Ben 10 fan and if you liked the Secret Saturdays crossover episode with Ben 10, I'm sorry, but this show just does not have a Ben 10 feel. Generator Rex is a very good show that has the Ben 10 feel and has crossed over with Ben 10. The Secret Saturdays does not have that Ben 10 feel that you want from good action cartoons. And yeah, the action in the show in general, just like I never really get that pumped whenever an action scene's going on. There's a whole lot of running around in the show, a lot of running away from danger. So that's part of the reason why, but at the same time I just never really get excited whenever an action scene happens, even in season 2. Season 2 is way better than season 1. They did not improve the action scenes very much at all, which is a disappointment. The action scenes in the Ben 10 Omniverse crossover are the best action in the show. Anyways, yeah, this show is just, again, in general, this show is just disappointing. I will do some more videos on the show in the future. I have a fan theory that I'm going to talk about in a future video. I'll probably release that on the 10th anniversary of the show, which I think is October 3rd. So yeah, I'll try to release a short little video on the 10th anniversary, unlike what I did for Ben 10 Alien Force, where I was way too ambitious and I ended up never finishing this big video I had planned for the 10th anniversary of Alien Force. I'm not going to do the same thing for the Secret Saturdays. This is my review of the Secret Saturdays, just the lame podcast. And I'm just going to do a random theory video probably for the 10th anniversary, connecting it with Ben 10. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway. And I never really talked about Zach's weapon. His weapon is called the Claw, which is just a metal stick that has a magic hand at the tip. I already forgotten what the hand name is, but I don't know. This show just oh, I don't know. I just needed to eventually rewatch this show. I watched it as a kid and loved it whenever it first came out in 2008. And yeah, I loved it as a kid. It just doesn't really hold up very well, sadly. Ah, no. The art style is just okay. I don't. I think it's the art style is fine, but it just doesn't really work very well for an action cartoon. Again, I didn't really like the action scenes in the show very much at all. There was never really a moment during most of these action scenes where they blew me away or anything like, oh man, that was cool. And like I don't really get a whole lot of oh man that was cool moments in the show. The theme song, however, is really good. I really like the intro to the show. It's very short, but I still do like it. The intro. I do wish that they updated the intro later on the show for season 2 to add in more scenes and all that. The show doesn't do that, sadly, but it's still a cool intro. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Just anyway, the villains in the show, most of them are just bland, generic, boring villains. The main villain of the show, Vivi Argost, he's the best villain of the show. He steals the show. I love Argost. I'm really glad that they brought him back for the Ben 10 crossover. Anyway, but yeah, But the sad thing about Argost is that he is like really the only great villain, standout villain in the show. The rest of them are just all generic and boring, and you don't care about any of these villains other than Argost, which is just kind of sad. Like even Zack's secret, like even Zack's evil twin. There was an episode where they go into an alternate universe. Never heard that before. Ben 10 fans. Ben 10 fans has never seen any evil alternate universes or anything. uh, anyway, even like the evil versions of the main characters from that universe, they aren't really all that interesting. It's kind of cool that they made one of the characters who don't talk in the show be like super smart and have a Russian accent and all that. That was kind of cool, but that's really the only noteworthy thing from the evil universe. Um, yeah. Like, we never even get to see if the bad guys in the main universe are good guys in that universe. Like, we never even get to see if Argost was a good guy in that universe or not. We just don't know. Anyway. Yeah. I don't know. This show's just okay. I give it an okay out of 10. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the things that make season 2 better. So there's way less filler in season 2. There still is some filler in season 2, but way less of it. Like in season 2, Zack actually makes a secret deal with Argost for Argost to give Zack some training and all that. Like all those scenes with Zack and Argost talking together, like it's not as interesting as like Slade and Robin's dynamic in Ben 10 or in Teen Titans. I mean, I was comparing it to Teen Titans, but I called it Ben 10. Oh, I messed up. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of interesting mentorship, even though they don't like each other and all that. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I wish I could say. I wish I could say that you could skip to the important episodes of season 1, but like every episode just kind of furthers the plot a little bit, but most of it's filler within those episodes that do that. Blarg. Like, yeah. Anyway, I haven't talked about Doyle yet. So one of the main villains in the show was Van Rook, who was a bounty hunter. just the generic bounty hunter character. We see a million of those in Ben 10. And then he had a sidekick named Doyle, who later we find out is actually the brother of Zach's mom, Drew Saturday. And yeah, so he is actually Zach's uncle, and he turns good. And yeah, Doyle, he is a character that improves over the course of the show. There's some annoying stuff that he does in the first season that he doesn't do at all in season 2. And like, in season 1, he starts out as just Van Rook's sidekick. He only cares about money, and he thinks that Zach is kind of cool. He's a cool kid. But yeah, whenever he does turn a good guy and joins the Saturdays, he's only doing it for money. So the Saturdays actually have to pay Doyle for helping them, and then after 2 episodes they kick him out, and then he later rejoins again because of stuff that happens. And yeah, the Saturdays were really, like, they did have a great reason to kick him out of the group after the 2nd episode with him being a member, because he did some irredeemable stuff that was just kind of annoying. So they were 100% in the right to kick him out of the group. And then he later rejoins, and then he gets better. In season 2, what they do with him is that he actually has a subplot. Like, he has his own little journey that he goes on separate from the family again. But here's the thing. So his old boss, Van Rook, the guy who trained him, Van Rook goes completely broke, and he just is doing anything now for money. So Doyle actually pays Van Rook to help him. And then at the very end of the show, during the final episode, Van Rook actually has a heroic sacrifice moment and saves everybody. And the final scene of the show is everybody visiting Van Rook's grave at his funeral. I can't believe the show ended that way. Van Rook is a character who only cares about 2 things. 1 was money. 2 was Drew Saturday. And even when he died, he still says that those are the only 2 things he cares about. This is what he was saying when he was dying, and yet everybody was still super sad about him dying, and they all visited his grave, his funeral, and all that. There is a detail where Doyle made sure that he only had like 2 roses on his gravestone. And he's like, 2 roses is enough for this guy. Okay. I don't know what the show is trying to say. Did the show actually redeem Van Rook? I don't know. I felt like throughout the entirety of season 2 that a villain could have just been like, hey, whatever Doyle's paying you, I'll pay you double, and then he would have betrayed the group. And it would have made for a good moment if he later decided, after he turned against them, that no, this is wrong, wrong. Your money is good, but these guys, I like them more. Like, that would have been a good redeeming moment for Van Rook, but instead he dies, and he still only thinks that money and Drew are the only 2 good things in the world, and it's just, ugh, I don't like Van Rook, honestly. It's kind of funny seeing how pathetic he got in season 2, how broke he got and all that, but I don't care for Van Rook, and it just is confusing to me that the show would end with his funeral. No, like, he's an unlikable character, and yet the show ends with his funeral. Why have that be the last scene of the show for bringing this unlikable character to an end? I don't know. So yeah, thankfully the Ben 10 Omniverse crossover has a much happier ending, with them just with the Saturday family just taking a photo with 4 arms. Much happier ending note. And yeah, The show also does have some Ben 10 references in it. There's this one guy who believes in aliens in the show, and that one, like, they say there's one line in the show where they say that he actually saved the world from alien invasion. So the show does acknowledge the fact that aliens were real before the Ben 10 crossover. And then at one point, this guy also mentions Galvan Prime, which is Asmus Homeworld and Grey Matter. And yeah, and then there's one episode where the Saturdays are looking through a database full of criminal profiles and all that. When I watched the episode, I did see Enoch from Ben 10, who was one of the Forever Knights inside the database. According to the Winkies and all that, there's also Dr. Animo who has an image there, and one other villain who's I'm forgetting about. I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to look it up. And yeah, the Dr. Animo thing, though, it is really fitting that Dr. Animo had a cameo in the villain database because he shows up in the Ben 10 crossover with Secret Saturdays. And yeah, Dr. Animo was just a great choice for them to put as the villain in the Ben 10 crossover because, you know, it looks like they updated the homepage of the Secret Saturdays wiki, so now I don't know how to get to the episode guide. Let's search it up. List of episodes. Yeah, the episode was called Cryptid versus Cryptid. Let's look at it. Alright. Trivia. In the criminal database on the Cryptidpedia, that's actually what it's called, we see Dr. Animo, Hex, and Enoch from Ben 10. So Hex was the third villain who got a cameo. Yeah. He does get arrested at one point in the show, so it kind of makes sense for him to be registered into the whatever criminal database it is. And yeah, but this show, though, it has those Ben 10 references in it. It doesn't. This world, though, does not feel like Ben 10 at all. It feels like two completely different worlds. And yeah, they're the same world. It's weird. Again, like, yeah, I don't know. Ugh, I'm so confused right now. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Anyway, so this podcast has gone on for 28 minutes now, and I don't really feel like watching the crossover episode right now. I don't know. I guess I could do a separate review for the crossover episode. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully, hopefully I'll figure out something to do with Jeremy, so we'll have him in a video. I don't know what I'm going... I know, like, I want to do a theory video for the Secret Saturdays for its 10th anniversary. I don't know. I'm sure that, like, I could make a couple of more videos other than just that, talking about the Secret Saturdays, but I'm not sure if I really want to talk about this show very much beyond this stuff. I don't know. There's a train whistling, so the train's telling me to turn off the video now. Bye, guys.